Hi, everyone, and welcome to Insum Interviews. And Insum Interviews is all about getting insight into technology trends of interest to the Apex developer. And I'm your host, Marc Ruel from the Insum Marketing Department. And today our guest is Adrian Png. And Adrian is the Oracle Ace and Senior Cloud Solution Architect at Insum. And today we are talking about Apex and AI. So Adrian, thank you for taking time from your very busy schedule. I know you're going to Singapore very soon, so thanks for taking up on our offer.
Hi, Mark, and thanks so much for inviting me to be on this interview.
So it's great to have you here. And before we start, what I would like to do is show you a couple of recent quotes that come from an Oracle video that was done recently that's on YouTube. The quotes come from Marc Ruel About, and he's the VP and Principal Analyst from Forrester. And he said these two things during the video, and I want to get your opinion on both of these statements. So number one, we're now sort of crossed the point where enterprises are really integrating AI into existing applications and buying new ones. And number two, our point of view at Forrester is that AI is a fundamental technology and is the future of every enterprise. So I'd like to ask you, would you say both of these statements are true? And what do you think?
Well, I would actually agree with what he's saying here. As we all know, there's this whole Gartner hype cycle that we frequently talk about when referring to technology that's groundbreaking and new. And I think AI has kind of gone past maybe even the peak. Maybe there was some disillusionment in the past couple of years, we'll wonder how great is this AI thing, and I think we've kind of started to creep out of that, and what that probably means is that we're going to have more and more examples of people implementing AI in our everyday applications, and we all know that's been creeping into our lives now, right? I mean, everything from detecting fraud when you're making banking transactions.
Mm-hmm.
AI is also used in products such as our own very own Oracle Autonomous Database.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think more and more applications would have some element of AI integrated into it at some point in time. The Oracle Autonomous Database,
mm-hmm.
That's all AI inside of it. It is proclaimed to be self-driving, self-tuning, self-securing, and a whole lot of things, right? But there was actually a presentation where they really talked about the details of how AI is actually being used, and it was insightful. I think. I mean, it's beyond just keywords and buzzwords. It's technology that's actively being applied and used in the product.
Okay. And one of the main reasons for the interview here today, Oracle recently launched a few more AI services, which are these ones. And they describe them as a collection of services that make it easier for developers to apply AI services to their applications without requiring data science expertise. They launched 6 of them: language, speech, vision, anomaly detection, OCI forecasting, OCI data labeling. Do you happen to know how far along they are in actually implementing them into product and making them available to people?
Actually, yes. So of the 6 here, OCI Language, anomaly detection, and data labeling are actually generally available today. So anyone has access to that right now. As far as I know, speech, vision, and forecasting, they've been announced during that presentation that you talked about. I believe there is a LA program, which means limited availability. So you can access the services, but you have to go through the usual paperwork to get it. But again, it's currently, I think, only in beta, and it should be out perhaps sometime next year.
Oh, you think maybe early in the year, or?
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, based on what they've shown in various presentations, it looks pretty promising.
Mm-hmm. And you recently, I think you recently did a presentation on Apex and AI. Can't remember where now.
It's the Oracle Groundbreakers virtual tour for APAC,
Right.
so Asia Pacific.
Yep.
And you're right. I did a presentation about building intelligent Apex applications now, right? I'm not next year or 10 years down the road. You can actually integrate AI into your Apex applications today.
Oh, tell us how to do that.
Well, you could have attended my session, but
yeah.
Yeah, there were essentially three different ways that I kind of walked through during that presentation. The first one kind of started with the Oracle Autonomous Database. Oracle Autonomous Database also comes with a product known as the Oracle Machine Learning Notebooks, or OML notebooks for short. And within that product, they have AutoML UI. So AutoML basically helps automate a lot of the tasks that are generally involved in building machine learning models, and it's got a easy to use user interface for you to kind of run those AutoML experiments.
Well, I got a question about that. So, Oracle says that the services were designed, to make applications without requiring data science expertise. Why do they say without requiring data? Don't you want to work with a data scientist when you develop machine learning models?
Well, I would agree and disagree at the same time with that statement. I did put in, one of the key things I kind of mentioned during my presentation as well was that today you don't really need advanced knowledge about machine learning algorithms, how to do statistics and all that stuff. I think there are enough tools and frameworks out there right now, for example, like this AutoML UI, that let someone with a little bit of experience with AI to go quite a long way with it. And the reason why I say that is because for at least for the AutoML AI UI tool, it lets you build the experiments relatively easy, but there are certain things like for example, picking maybe algorithms that you are interested to test out or have it evaluated, and what kind of metrics do you want to actually apply in order to measure your machine learning model, right? So it's these generic concepts about applying ML in the first place. I think we still need to have some of that kind of background. But having said that, there is also, and this is actually in the second demonstration that I did during the session, was about using one of the services, OCI services that you listed earlier on, and that's the OCI Language service.
Mm-hmm.
And these are what we tend to call as pre-trained models, right? Basically, somebody has done all the machine learning stuff, magic, right? And it's able to do a specific type of predictive task. So for language services, it centers around natural language processing. So you don't need to be an expert in NLP. Like you may not even care what it is, but the fact is that they have certain tasks that they can perform. So I think there are 5 of them, and one example could be pulling out from a text any interesting entities that are present. It could do things like detect the sentiment in the text. Simple stuff like, is this English or is this French? And again, all you really need to know as a developer is this is a REST endpoint, and what do I send to it, and what I expect to get from it, and then decide what to do with it. So I had this toy help desk application where you could submit in a ticket, and the ticket would then pull out key phrases, right, to use as tags, right? And you're in social media, Mark, you know everything about tags, right? and how useful they can be. And one of the challenges that I was presenting was, of course, if you were a support agent and you come to work and you have this whole long list of tickets to go through, but what if you want to kind of segment them out, right? And as somebody who's already frustrated with the computer that's giving me that horrible blue screen, do you think I have the mood to enter what I thought would be useful to you as a support technician?
I see.
Probably not, right? So
yeah, no.
But if I just entered my issue and the machine automatically pulled out the important aspects of that ticket and generate the necessary tags, then
and sentiment.
Yeah, well, the sentiment, of course.
Like if you're really angry.
Yeah, but that's a good point. But and it's these things, right? So we as Apex developers probably start thinking, how to improve my applications. And I know I can use these things, these AI stuff, and don't need to know a single thing about NLP. Isn't that great? I think it is.
So prepackaged machine learning that you access via an API, and you do your job as a developer, and then all of a sudden, poof, you got a new set of skills that your application has for your end users.
Yeah. So yeah, and I actually had a third presentation which was interesting. There's an organization called AI Singapore, and one of my friends actually works for them. And his group, he leads a group that designed a framework called Peking Duck.
Oh, yeah.
And it was actually it's Python based, but like Apex is kind of low code, because all you needed to do was really have this text file. It's in a YAML format. Some people have angst about YAML, but it is a configuration file that lets you kind of define, how images are going to be put into this whole computer vision pipeline, and then you can choose what kind of pre-trained machine learning models that you want to apply on your images. And then it could do certain things like in my example, it was about obfuscating faces within the picture,
right,
and then eventually to save that out. So I didn't need to know how to do computer vision. I didn't need to know where to grab the pre-trained models, or how do I consume the image and run it through this whole pipeline and save it out to a file. So many steps involved and so much code, right? But I didn't have to worry about that. And using OCI's serverless functions, I could actually introduce that into my Apex application, where I could upload an image with faces, and it drops it off in an object storage, and magically this serverless functions would come on and apply this privacy enhancing step onto my image, and eventually saves out the same image, but with the faces blurred out.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, almost no knowledge of machine learning, but it's good to have just a little bit, I think.
Well, yeah, you can implement these. The way you say it, it sounds actually fairly simple. I wouldn't easy. I can't say myself, but I'm not a developer. But in terms of when you want to improve an application that you've developed using an AI service, because that, that's one of the jobs of data scientists is to go back and tune the machine learning model to make it fit better with the business needs, or do away with some keywords and bring in others, stuff like that. I mean, as an Apex developer, would you be doing that as well?
No, you shouldn't be worrying about that. I mean, it really depends on your clients or your company. What's the business you're in, right? Like if I'm building a help desk applications with and then just wanting to use AI to enhance the user experience, whether it's employees or users, I don't have to worry about it. I rely on Oracle to do all that NLP research to better train their models, come up with new things, capabilities, and then I just consume it.
Okay. But say the company wanted to go further and develop it more. Are these models? Can you open them up and tune them and toy with them and improve them?
So yes and no. Trying to break them open really depends on the machine learning algorithm that was used. So a lot of people talk about this deep learning thing, right, which really has its roots in neural networks. And neural networks have been known to be black boxes. So you couldn't necessarily take apart and figure out, what's important and what's not, right? The
okay.
neural network just learns it. But there are, of course, other classes of algorithms such as decision trees, random forests, where they could literally take out different attributes about your data and tell you what's kind of they tell you exactly what were the decision points that they used in order to come up with a final decision on what the outcome is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, while we have pre-trained models, there's also this whole concept about I'm just trying to remember the term for that. Okay, the term kind of escapes me, but essentially the core concept is about using that pre-trained model. For example, Google has one that detects, like, I think it's 80-ish kind of object types, right? Like whether there's a car, there's an animal, human, maybe even a little bit more details, like whether it's a tiger or a lion. But for example, if something that I've been wanting to do, right, is to use machine learning, computer vision to tell when the postman arrives. The generic pre-trained model might be able to tell me that a vehicle is in the image. They could tell you that this is a van maybe, but if I wanted to know, is this a FedEx van, right? Then I could use that model, have another group of labeled images about specifically for FedEx, UPS, Canada Post, different types of vans, and they're all labeled, and then have the machine learning kind of go down to the details about what kind of van is it, who it belongs to, right? So you can do that kind of customizations, but they are really in the realm of the data scientists and all that. I think though, Oracle is coming up with the ability to do custom models as well, and that's all part of their
the data science
AI
platform.
services. No, actually no. It's going to be part of, even like you saw that there was one product called data labeling, right? And it's precisely for me to do that, to upload an image about of the van and give a label to it.
Okay.
And I believe the pre-trained, so pre-trained models could be used as a basis for them training a custom model. But don't quote me on this because I haven't actually tried it. But that's how I kind of see they would develop the product.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that's sort of so it gives us sort of an idea of what might be coming down the pipe from Oracle in the coming year, and kind of gives us a little bit of overview of probably what's going to be in every Oracle Apex developer's future for good. Like, it'll be a great tool to get those machine learning models and apply them to your applications to make your clients happier, I guess.
Yeah. Well, clients and users, employees happier as well.
Yeah.
I mean, these days we can't just take care of the clients, right? We would take care of the employees to do their job better and
ultimately,
improve the experience for everyone.
Is there anything else before I close the interview? Is there anything else you wanted to add about machine learning or AI and the Apex developer?
Maybe just one last word. So the title of my presentation was "Build Intelligent Apex Applications Now." Mm-hmm. So the key point is that you can do it now. It's not a pipe dream that's way out. It is reality, and I think it just relies on us to, as developers, as solutions architects, to rethink how we write our applications and see if AI could be introduced in a practical way to enhance the experience. We don't have to do, out of this world type of applications. They're really, look for those mundane tasks and little areas where we could improve the application, but by improving that gives us much better outcomes. Yeah. So we're beyond hype. It's here, and we should all think about it.
Right. Well, it's very interesting to think about it, and it's a subject that is very, very hot right now, and I'm sure because it's becoming more practical, it's going to be a much more talked about subject, and certainly here on the Insum channels, we'll be talking about it more. So I'll ask everyone to stay tuned to Insum, and if you're not signed up for our newsletter, then please sign up for it. And we will be talking more about Apex and AI in our future newsletters. So Adrian, thank you very much for your time. And I know you're off to Singapore soon, so I wish you the best of luck and nice travels, safe travels. I want to thank everyone for listening, and guess we'll see you next month.
Thank you, Mark, and happy holidays.
Thanks, you too, Adrian. Thanks, and happy holidays, everyone.
See ya.